listening to Oilersnation Radio, a member of the Nation network of podcasts and delivered by DoorDash. 1 hour of straight hockey talk with Dan, Rick, Tyler, and Bag Milk starts now.
Listen, we're starting Oilers Nation Radio today. I am sitting in the producer's chair. I don't need you, Tyler.
So
I've got buttons.
We're doing this remotely. I don't think we're going to leave that part in the podcast because I'm sitting at home with my Roadcaster. Bag Milk is at the office with his Roadcaster. I hit start recording, and then as I'm playing the intro the first time, Bag Milk just goes, all right, 3, 2, 1, and then fires another intro from his end. It was a shit show.
I have a new restaurant idea. Dueling Roadcasters.
Sound effects back and forth. And start every dinner that anybody has. Tyler, I am on buttons. Leave your shit alone.
Faded down.
That's a joke. An absolute joke is what it is.
All right. As we do every week, we get started off with Oilers Nation Radio for our friends at Oodle Noodle. New location opening up in Calgary very, very soon this month. Soon the folks in Calgary will have a delicious place to eat. Need an upgrade. Promise you're going to enjoy it. And if you're here in the city, you want to get a little Tuesday din, but you're feeling lazy, our friends at DoorDash will be there for you. Liam, fresh one, please.
Ding dong.
Thank you very much. Mr. Yaremchuk, now is your turn. Mm-hmm. What do you have for a delicious debate today?
Today's Oodle Noodle delicious debate. The Oilers are beginning a big week against a couple of Pacific Division opponents, including a game on Saturday against the Vegas Golden Knights. With not a lot of hockey going on over the last couple of days from an Oilers perspective, I've taken some time to look at the Pacific Division and think about the way things sit right now. Vegas is 8 points up on the Oilers with the same amount of games played, and everyone wants to crown the Golden Knights Pacific Division champions, and I'm not buying it quite yet. So I want to know from you guys, what % chance do you give the Oilers of catching the Golden Knights right now?
Before you give your answers, boys, let me just run through the standings here. We have got Vegas 13-3, just a sparkling record to start off the season, 26 points. Los Angeles next up. They are the Oilers' opponent for tomorrow. They are 10-7-1. Seattle is in third place at 8-5-3 with 19 points. The Edmonton Oilers are next up at 9-7-0. Calgary, San Jose, Vancouver, Anaheim round out the division. Who is going to jump in first? Liam, I'm looking at you. So you're the only one in the room.
Only one here. I think they got a pretty good chance of catching them. Like, they haven't played them yet. Like, I think it's hard to say, you know, what this team truly is at the moment. Like, what have they played? Calgary and Vancouver, the only Pacific Division teams the others have played, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So there's a long way to go. Did they play Vegas 3 or 4 times?
3.
Who knows with the schedule this year? It's so odd.
Yeah. So they play them 3. They play Calgary 3. It's just, I guess you kind of would almost want to play those teams 4.
I think we play them 4. I think we play them 4 because we're in Vegas twice. And I vaguely remember them being here twice too.
Correct. Sorry, okay. Dan is right. Just to update people, they play obviously this Saturday. They play the 14th in Vegas against the Golden Knights. They play the 25th of January, March, and then the 28th of March.
Can you say that again though, Tyler?
25th in March and 28th of March.
Dan is right.
Oh, sorry, Dan is right.
Thank you. But I was going to say, Liam, I'm going to just steal it from you. As the only person that believed in Vegas at the start of this podcast this season, I think that this team is probably here to stay in the top 2. I do think the Edmonton Oilers catch them by the end of the year. The fact that Vegas hasn't gone out and had to get a goalie yet is crazy to me. And they're winning hockey games because of it. So I just think that Vegas is this good of a team, and that we talked about it. I think it was on this podcast last week, talked about how they were shuffling around with the cap and trying to keep Stone off, but get Eichel in. And, you know, it was just a mess for them towards the finish line last year. And I think they just don't have any of that this year. So I like Vegas's chances to be up there, but I do think Edmonton passes them at the last minute.
The team that I'm most surprised by, if I'm looking at the standings right now, is there's no way Seattle's going to stick in third place by the end of the year. I just don't buy that for a second. Like, yeah, they've had a nice start to the season. They're scoring goals. They've got 52 goals. They've got a +7 goal differential. All that's really nice. They're 6-3-1 in their last 10, but they have lost 2 in a row. I see Seattle as the year wears on, just kind of trailing back. The other 2, though, Vegas and LA, I can absolutely see them being in the mix. Both teams are good. The question about Vegas's goaltending for me seems to be okay, at least right now. So I don't know how much movement really to expect there outside of Seattle dropping.
Yeah,
Tyler?
I think that's probably pretty fair. The numbers I was looking at for Oilers Nation every day, like Vegas's PDO is the 5th highest in the league, and for those who follow the numbers, like usually you regress to the mean at some point, right? So Vegas's PDO is pretty high. I could see them falling back, and also you look at the numbers for their 2 goalies. Logan Thompson's at a 925. Okay, he still has not even played 40 games in his NHL career. I'm not willing to say Logan Thompson's a 925 goalie for his entire career. Same reason I'm not willing to say Stuart Skinner is going to be a 935 goalie for his entire career. I think Thompson will fall back, and Aiden Hill's proven he's not a 920 caliber goalie. So I think both these guys will fall back, but where I'll give them a little bit more credit than maybe I was willing to give them at the beginning of the year, I think Bruce Cassidy is a damn good short-term coach. I think eventually he loses the room like we saw in Boston, and he's a little bit too demanding, but he's kind of like those... who's the soccer one? Jose Mourinho?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think so. Isn't it, Liam?
Yep, can confirm.
Like you bring him in to get you, in a way, you bring him in to get a title, and then it kind of sours quickly, right? And I think that's kind of what Bruce Cassidy almost is you bring him in to like pedal to the floor for a year or two because it's your championship window. And I think he's getting the most out of this Vegas team, and I think he'll continue to get a lot. But I mentioned the PDO. They're also playing at a 133-point pace. They are not going to put up one of the best regular seasons in NHL history. They're going to go on a slide right away, but the Oilers are at a 92-point pace, so they have a lot of work to kind of make up that ground, but I still think there's a chance they do it. I'm not willing to say 50-50, but I'd give the Oilers a 25% chance of catching Vegas.
If you're listening to this right now and you have no idea what the fuck Tyler's talking about when he says PDO, basically PDO is the sum of a team's shooting percentage and its save percentage multiplied by 10. So anything over like 1 point whatever, it's high.
Yeah.
It's high, and Seattle's is high right now. So, Liam, what about Seattle? What do you see from them?
Well, I think it's interesting that Martin Jones is kind of the guy for them right now. Isn't Grubauer injured?
Yeah,
Right?
both Grubauer and Drieger are injured.
Yeah, so I guess that could be a bonus for them, but we haven't really seen a great Grubauer in Seattle. Like he has an 860 save percentage in the 4 games he's played this season. They're not getting it's not like one guy is carrying them, which I think is the most intriguing thing. They just don't have a guy that's putting up like a goal, a point and a half a game. Like I don't think they actually have any point per game players from what I was looking at. So it seems like a bit of a team effort. I think they're probably good enough to compete for a wild card spot, but I don't expect them to be in that 3rd spot, like you said, Bag Milk. They're just not strong enough as a team. Like Oliver Bjorkstrand was supposed to come in and score goals. He has 1 this season. Jordan Eberle has 4. The leading goal scorers are Tanev and Schwartz with 5 goals. Beniers with 5 goals, not Tanev. So I don't know. It just feels like they're one of those teams that's bound to go on a bit of a bad run here and really fall off.
Well, and you can't fight with that lineup when they can't even find a spot for Shane Wright within it, right? It's crazy to me to see, but I think that the NHL got it right this time with the expansion draft and with Seattle. It feels like that's exactly what I would want out of an expansion team, is just a team that's kind of middle of the ground and they're going to have to scrap for their points. And so, I'm with you, Liam. I think that Martin Jones is probably buoying a lot of the numbers in Seattle a little bit more than he will over the entire season. And then definitely if they bring back Grubauer and put him in the net.
I want to question to you, Dan. When you said the NHL got it right on the expansion, is that like the teams did better this time at protecting?
Yes. Sorry. Yeah, that's a great question. Yes. In the sense that the 31 other teams didn't hand over players trying to protect a player that they coveted like they did with Vegas. And Vegas by all rights, if you remove the William Karlssons and the, there's another name that escaping
Jonathan
me.
Marchessault.
Yeah, Marchessault. You remove those names off of that team, and then you have a middle ground again, floundering to kind of keep things going. Now, Fleury was an extra element there that helped them, where that Seattle doesn't have that, as we've seen with Grubauer, which they were supposed to. We all thought that they were going to have a better goalie in Grubauer than they do.
Looking at the Pacific again, Vegas 1, LA 2, Seattle 3, Edmonton 4, Calgary 5, San Jose 6, Vancouver 7, and then Anaheim dead last in 8th. What is the biggest surprise for all of you just in this early going of the season when it comes to the Pacific Division? Liam, again, I'm looking at you.
Is it crazy to say the Edmonton Oilers?
Why is that?
because they're just not consistent at all. Like I thought this team was going to have a way better start to the year. Jack Campbell hasn't been what we thought he was going to be. You know, the depth scoring really hasn't been there outside of, I guess, Hyman, Nugent, what's the other guy's name? Kane. I feel like I expected more from this team to start the season, especially last season. They started pretty well, right? And then
10-0 last year.
Yeah. So, you know, after coming off that and into this season, like I just feel like we haven't seen the best of the Edmonton Oilers yet. So I would say that's probably the biggest surprise for me, because Vegas coming back to it, like I get it. They're a good team, a lot of good players. It doesn't surprise me that much that they've got off to such a good start.
Dan, what about you? What's the biggest surprise for you in the Pacific so far?
For me, it has to be Vancouver. Vancouver is utterly shocking. I thought they had at least a playoff team worthy lineup there, especially when you have Thatcher Demko as your goalie. I've just been, you know, we get a chance to speak to some of our Canucks Army friends every Tuesday morning, and it's just been, you know, like watching us 5 years ago on repeat, watching the decade of darkness take over in Vancouver, and, you know, talking about firing your coach. We're not even 20 games into the season for teams, and they're already looking at getting rid of the guy that they brought in last year that we created an entire hashtag out of. Bruce, there it is. So I mean, it's, for me, yeah, Vancouver has just been shocking. Like I said, I thought for sure they were going to be a playoff team, and even when they'd lost like 7 and 8 in a row, I didn't really think it was that crazy of a, you know, just a bad slide and you get it fixed, but it doesn't seem like it.
Chris Faber from Canucks Army said he feels like a coaching change is coming real soon. So the folks over at CA are preparing for that. Tyler, what about you? Biggest surprise in the Pacific so far?
I think Seattle is kind of one of the obvious answers, but I'll go with the Calgary Flames as my choice. Yes, they're 7-6-2. Yes, they're only 2 points back of the Oilers with a game in hand, so they could be, you know, right at the same spot Edmonton is with one more victory. But Jacob Markstrom has turned into a pumpkin. He's got an .889 save percentage. He's been brutal to start the year. There's already friction with Huberdeau and Sutter. They had Huberdeau playing on the third line, and they're clearly struggling to score. I think the Flames, and just how discombobulated they've looked early, it's surprising.
It's a good pick, Tyler. I wouldn't have picked them because I wasn't that surprised when they signed Jonathan Huberdeau to a long-term contract without seeing him play. Sorry, Liam, I interrupted you.
One thing I am surprised about with the Flames is they're scoring at the same rate as San Jose and Anaheim right now. That's surprising. They've got 47 goals. San Jose also has 47 goals. Anaheim trailing behind with 42, but the lack of offense just overall from the Flames has been surprising to me.
But I mean, like their entire summer was spent selling the fan base on Kadri, Huberdeau, and Weegar. And you know, I don't blame them because those are the guys that they have. But I mean, the whole summer we were told that everything was fine and that they were going to be better without Tkachuk and Gaudreau. And now I don't think Columbus and Florida are exactly singing the praises of Gaudreau and Tkachuk, but I do really, you know, to me, it's shocking as a fan base up here, seeing how much they were talking and how great they were going to be this offseason.
Well, to his credit, I mean, I'm looking at Nazem Kadri right now. He's got 7 assists, 14 points in 15 games. So he's kind of holding up his end of the bargain.
1,000%.
Huberdeau, 2 goals, 5 assists, 7 points in 12 games. Probably want a little more from the $10 million guy.
Yeah, I've never been a Huberdeau guy.
Why?
He just feels like, how do I word this? Like he just never felt like a star to me. Like the guy, like last year when he was in like the Hart Trophy conversation, there was never a point throughout there where I thought, oh yeah, this is Huberdeau's to lose. Like he's just not a star player, and the trade was so odd. Like you get Mackenzie Weegar, of course, and like if Tkachuk didn't want to be there, I get it. You got to move on from him, but Huberdeau just doesn't feel like a Daryl Sutter kind of guy. And now you sign him to an 8-year ticket. So to me, that leads to, is Sutter likely gone? He's like, if he's not going to work with their most expensive player, what are they going to do? Have Huberdeau and Milan Lucic in the bottom 6 every night? There's $16 million on your cap or whatever Lucic is making in your bottom 6. It just seems weird. Like it just seems like everything has gone so poorly wrong for Calgary, but it also felt a little obvious that this was very much in the cards.
Well, one thing that's interesting too is, like Dan said, they signed Huberdeau when they didn't really need to. He had another year left on the contract. And last year was by far an outlier in terms of his career production. Yeah. He did have that season in 2018-19 where he scored 92 points in 82 games, but 115 in 80 games is a big year.
Yeah. Huge. And they paid for him. It's like what the Oilers did with Nurse.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
They paid for him too early. Like, I understand, like, you probably, like, because even when we were having those meetings and the guys in Calgary were talking, oh, well, what if we lose Huberdeau now, too? Does nobody want to stay in Calgary? And I guess they probably wanted to shake that narrative a little bit, too. The organization there, like, oh, no, star players do want to play in Calgary.
That's exactly it.
Now, in 15 games for Calgary, and Huberdeau's on the third line. Like, if I'm a star player, it's almost worse if I see that.
I coined it the summer of PR in Calgary. It was, and you said it well, Liam, like they really had to sell a fan base that they weren't going to turn around and lose another batch of star players from their recent losses in the summer. So yeah, it was a really, really bold statement to make. And this is the bed that you're now laying in it. And we love it up here.
Tyler, thoughts on Huberdeau?
Yeah, like I think you guys kind of nailed it with this is who he is.
Oh, the producer is on mute.
Okay, I'm back.
No.
Sorry. I think you nailed it from the sense of like they're getting what they paid for right now with Huberdeau. 7 points in 12 games is like more or less his career production. That's what Jonathan Huberdeau's always done. 2 goals and 5 assists every 10 to 12 games. That's what you're going to get out of him. And you just jump the gun paying him. And the thing that I find to be the most concerning or troubling from a Flames perspective is the way Sutter's handling him. You know, there was the thing in the media with, he's taking a shit. And Frank Saravalli said a couple of times that didn't sit well in the Flames room. Like, that was more of a calculated jab than maybe people think. So the fact that there's friction between a guy who you've signed to be your head coach long-term and the guy whose 8-year extension doesn't kick in for another year, oh boy.
There you go. So I want to know, if you're listening to this ON Radio podcast on Twitter and Instagram, what is the biggest surprise for you in the Pacific Division so far? We're about, I don't know, Tyler, can we get some of your Remchuk math? 15 games out of 82. What is that as a percentage?
For the Oilers or the Flames?
Anybody.
The Oilers are playing at a 92-point pace. The Flames are potentially right around the same mark, and Seattle's at like a 95, LA's at a 95-point pace. So
I looked it up while we were talking here. Liam, you made a really good point of how Huberdeau has never really been a leader on his team. Even in junior hockey, when they won the Memorial Cup, he had one more point than Thomas Yurko, Michael Kirkpatrick, and Zach Phillips, all St. John Sea Dogs as well. So like that Sea Dog team was just a really well-built team all throughout. He wasn't the superstar even in junior, which is rare to say about a superstar in hockey, right? A guy that they say is a superstar in hockey.
Shout out to Oilers legend Thomas Yurko.
Yes,
never forget.
What do you think he's up to right
the
now?
other two names though? Michael Kirkpatrick and Zach Phillips.
I think Zach Phillips was a first-round pick or an early second to Minnesota.
And Chris Kirkpatrick, of course,
Correct.
one of the founders.
28th overall.
I was just about to say that.
So there you go.
23rd overall, you said, Dan?
28th, 2011.
To who?
Good pick, Minnesota.
I knew it.
Good pull by you.
Back to getting away from the Flames and back to the Oilers, because that's what we all care about. The Oilers just wrapped up what I think is a pretty tough road trip with a 2-2 record. So I'm just curious what everybody thought. What's your takeaway from that road trip? Again, I'm staring at Liam. What did you think?
Can you play the key that says up and down like a toilet seat?
Yes, I may. Hang on.
It's been up and down like a toilet seat, really.
Yeah, they have it. Like this, that road trip, like the highs were high and the lows were low. There was so many negative things to come from it, but also positives. They won 2 games in Tampa Bay and Florida, but they also got smoked in Carolina and did well. And then lost poorly in Washington because the penalty kill was awful. You lose Kane. Campbell wasn't great, but on the plus side, Skinner was good. Warren Foegele is establishing himself again. Tyson Barrie had a pretty good road trip. Like, there was good things to say. Like, we had talking about it on Oilersnation every day yesterday too. It's like B-, C+.
Oh, okay. We're going to give it a grade too after. I like that.
Yeah, C minus B plus.
Nation Dan.
Oh, wait, no.
Go ahead.
B minus C plus.
Well, I'm going to give that explanation a CX.
Yeah, C to the power of. Nation Dan, your thoughts on the 2-2 road trip?
I will give it a C minus if I'm going to give it a grade, just because to me, the losses were self-inflicted. It was a lot of stuff that, like Liam mentioned with the Washington Capitals loss, they get dusted on the power play in that game. And then the next game they come out and they play lights out PK style. And it just made no sense at all. So it was like the Bermuda Triangle of road trips, some weird stuff. I hope got left on that trip, like our horrendous power penalty kill, and some better positives, like Liam mentioned, with Foegele and those guys activating is the positives that we take away from it. So C minus.
Tyler, what do you take away from that road trip?
Yeah, I think for their play on the ice, I would give them a C plus B minus. Yeah, I'll go B minus. That's what I said on Oilers Nation every day, so I got to stick with it. You won a couple of impressive games there. Beating Florida and Tampa is not easy, especially beating Tampa on the second of back-to-backs. But everything else, it was, how poorly you showed up against the Washington Capitals, the PK being junk for that game, the way you dropped the ball against Carolina and Jack Campbell, kind of giving us more reason to be concerned about him in that game. And then also losing Evander Kane is like a big part of that road trip story. And you're not going to have him now for a long time. So all of that just really negates the two positives against Florida and Tampa. So that's why I settled on a B minus, because, you don't want to be too hard on them when it comes to a guy like losing Kane. But, man, you view that trip a lot differently if you go 2-2 and still have Kane in your lineup, or go 3-1 and Kane still in your lineup.
Yeah, to me, I think the record is what it is, and you guys are all right. The Washington loss, devastating because the PK couldn't stop anything. Carolina, arguably the worst game of the year so far, but the loss is Evander Kane to me. Like, yeah, it sucks to lose those potential 4 points, but losing him in the lineup for as long as they are, 3, 4, 6 months, Liam?
Flexibility. I don't know. I don't look at it as that negative, but just because we're up against the cap, I think that's the only positive you can take away from it. And it's a positive in that we can get Janmark up here, maybe get Holloway down there. It moves some roster spots around at least.
Do you know what? After watching the game on Saturday, I don't even think the positive is Janmark. I think the positive was Klim Kostin.
Oh, yeah?
He was pretty good. Like, he did a lot of good things. He had that screen on the very first or the second goal? He had another good chance in the third period. Like, he skates really well for his size. Like, I really do think this guy could be a positive contributor to this team. And I think must have been on the pregame show that Tyler and I spoke about it. It's just, we said it about Foegele. It's like, just have a positive influence on the game, which Foegele did. And I think that's what a lot of the players in this bottom six need to do. Like, sure, it's great if you score a goal, but also if you're doing a lot of other positive things too to help out. I think that's just what the Oilers need right now. Is no one's expecting anyone in this team to step in and replace a potential 30-goal scorer, 40-goal scorer in Evander Kane. You just need to positively contribute to the game.
Tyler, anything to add there?
Yeah, no, I just agree. The part of the reason why I think a lot of people give Kyler Yamamoto a lot of rope and a lot of leeway when he would go through these cold streaks, because he is a streaky scorer, is, okay, well, when he's not scoring, he's usually disrupting stuff on the forecheck, right? He's making some decent plays down low. He's extending cycles. He's going hard to the net. And part of the reason why, people maybe don't have as long of a leash with a guy like Puljujarvi is because when things aren't going well for him, he's missing chances in the slot and he's not as engaged physically. That's part of the reason why I always find myself being harder on a guy like Warren Foegele, right? Because it's okay. If he's skating hard and hitting guys and just being just a shit disturber on the forecheck, then I don't care if he doesn't score for 10 games. That's fine. But it's sometimes when everything else and he looks a little unengaged, it's like, okay, you're a bottom six player in the NHL. The least you could do is control your effort, right? That is the one thing you can control, is your effort. And sometimes it feels like with some of these guys, it's just not there consistently enough.
Well, that's one of the reasons, Tyler, I love being an Edmonton Oilers fan. When I was a kid, going to those games, the Oilers, a very rare opportunity to go to a game every once in a while, and the Oilers would get their shit pumped, but the fans would be cheering when the Oilers would clear the puck on a penalty kill, or the fans would be cheering when the third line ground out 30 seconds in the offensive zone, even though they had no chance at getting close to the net because we just didn't have the talent that matched up with the rest of the league at that time. We loved effort. This city loves effort. And if we can point to the right things that you're doing away from the puck, and it's not just on a spreadsheet, this city will love that stuff.
You guys, a few of you mentioned Warren Foegele and kind of stepping up his game. He had that beauty shorthanded goal against Tampa Bay, kind of like the celebration. You could see just the relief that it all came out. And then 2 games later, he gets bumped up in favor of Dylan Holloway to Leon Draisaitl's line, ends up scoring the game winner against whoever that was. Florida. What do you guys think of Warren Foegele? Like, he's one of those guys, when he has a little bit of confidence, he can be a whole lot more effective. And right now, thankfully, it's coming at a good time. Liam, I'm looking at
you. You know what? We talked about it the other day too. Like, Foegele hadn't scored a goal since what was it, April 29th?
It was 31 games.
Oh, like that's such a long time. And it was probably running through his head so much.
Had to be.
And to get 2 in 3 games, that's huge. And now, like you said, he's on the second line. I think that's good. I think it's good that Woodcroft is rewarding positive play. And that spot was up for grabs. Like, Holloway, I think he did okay in the position. I think it's fair to say he did fine. If he got that shootout goal, like, maybe that would have changed everything, but he didn't ultimately. So you got to go with a hot hand. And Foegele right now is the hot hand on this team in that bottom BC group, I guess.
Nation Dan, your thoughts on Warren Foegele?
Oh yeah, I mean, I said it just a minute ago. You know, we talked about it on the podcast, and then immediately all of us retracted everything we said bad about him because he had a really good, hard-working game, and he was rewarded by putting the puck in the net. So yeah, it's you get those big hits, you get the crowd going, you get the team going, and then good things happen for you, and then you start to just see the success flow. So it's a tried, tested, and true formula, and I hope that other players on this team watch and want to do it too.
Tyler, as somebody who's kind of pointed out Warren Foegele is like, hey man, we need you to score. What is he doing differently now that's leading to some of that success, at least for you?
I think he's playing a good, and playing with Draisaitl was a shining example of this, a good, simple, complementary game, right? Like, I just kind of outlined the stuff that I'd like to see a little bit more from a guy like Foegele, right? Get in hard on the forecheck, don't make bad turnovers, hit everything that moves, and when you get a chance, rip the damn thing. And against Florida, he picked up that puck, didn't really dust it off all too much, didn't try to make an extra move, didn't even really try to pick a corner. He just grabbed it and was like, I'm going to shoot this thing because Leon Draisaitl put it on my tape. And if he just keeps doing that, he can stay in the top 6 for as long as he wants.
Looking at the line combos, Bob Stauffer tweeted these out from practice today. We've got Nuge, McDavid, Puljujarvi, Foegele, Draisaitl, Hyman. So Fogel's going to get another look at least to start tomorrow on Draisaitl's line. Janmark, McLeod, Costin is your new third line. Holloway down to the fourth with Shore and Ryan, Narcisi, Kulak, Bouchard, Niemelainen, and Barry. What are you guys thinking about Dylan Holloway on the fourth line? Like, if this is where he's going, if this is where he's playing, at least to start, and again, against Florida, he only played 655 after getting pulled off Leon's line. Could you see Benson, who is now practicing with the team, just kind of sliding into that spot, and then Holloway moves back down to Bakersfield?
I think that's the play. I think that's been the play for a couple of weeks now, to be honest, is Benson didn't lose his spot on this team. He just got hurt. And I think he deserves every right to come back and prove that again, that he is the guy to play on that fourth line, maybe even third line, depending on how well he plays. I think the Evander Kane injury obviously changed a lot of things. Holloway was given that top six a spot, didn't really grasp it. Did okay, like you said, but now you have Foegele who stepped in, played well. It just feels like, just send him down for a month, send him down till Christmas. Like, just give him some time to gain some momentum back in his legs, feel the puck more, score a couple of goals, and then just bring him back and probably be a different player.
I wrote the exact same thing on Sunday, I guess, my random thoughts column. It's just, right now, it's almost as if Holloway makes a mistake, he's going to get stapled to the bench. And it's also not fair to expect him to play mistake-free hockey this early in his career. He's a skilled guy. He's just coming out of college. It's going to take him time to figure it out. And stuff that probably worked for him all the time in college is not working in the NHL because it doesn't work in the NHL.
He also hasn't played a full season of hockey for a while. Like
Yes.
he was injured last season, so he came back and played, what is it, half the year, maybe even pretty sure he missed a lot of time in college too. Like he's got to play in Bakersfield. It's the simple answer. And the Oilers know that. I think it's pretty clear with everything that's kind of going on, where it's like, okay, we'll just play it. We'll just practice him, play him a few minutes tonight. Like, I think that's the plan. But yeah, I think the Kane thing disrupted things, and they're just waiting on Benson. That would be my take on it all.
What is a AHL season? Is it 65 games?
I think it's 74.
He played 33 games last year, so he missed a fair chunk. Tyler, what do you see in Dylan Holloway's game?
Yeah, I think you guys said a lot of it or covered a lot of it. I just, if you're going to play someone 7 minutes, send him down. Like, this isn't an NHL journeyman that's just like hungry for a paycheck and you're keeping him around because he's cheap. This is a guy who you should be looking at and going, we need him to one day be an everyday impact contributor in our top 6. And right now, if you're not going to give him the chance to do that, give him a chance to go play 20 minutes a night against pro hockey players, learn a pro system and all of that stuff. Because you're right, Bagmilk. He didn't get a ton of it last year. He didn't play a lot in Bakersfield. He missed most of the season. So let him keep getting reps. Jason Greger was on Oilers Nation every day today. And he said something along the lines of, there is something to be said about practicing against pros and learning the pro style and all of that kind of stuff. But at some point, the benefits of that are just simply outweighed by playing a lot of game hockey against opponents, competitive atmosphere, all of that. And he will be playing more game hockey down in Bakersfield, so put him down there.
Anybody, Dan, do you think is there a reason to keep him? Like, I get the practice thing to an extent, I guess, maybe. You can't, you're never going to convince me that is better than playing 20 minutes in the AHL. Dan, do you see a reason why he should still be here instead of a guy like Tyler Benson or your boy, Brad Malone?
Well, it's hard for me to fight for anybody but Brad Malone. But if I put Brad Malone aside, I was on, and I think I am still on the train of keep him here. But I'm with you guys for 2 reasons. There's the 2 reasons you keep him here is the cap space issues, which of course Kane has now alleviated a little bit. And then the second reason you keep him here is if you're ready to be patient with him. And you guys have already pointed it out that clearly this staff is not ready to be patient with him and not ready to give him that shot up on the top lines. So it's foolhardy to keep him up here if you're going to just keep playing him for 7 minutes.
Yeah, it's just like you start him there. He fucks something up because he's trying a move that maybe used to work for him in the past. And then he gets bumped right down to the 4th and he's stapled to the bench all game. I just don't see the value in that just to
That's how we used to teach these hockey kids. That's how they used to deal with people when they were learning. But we have these AHL programs, and it's not as much of a demotion as it used to be either. So I just think that, I am still a believer in Dylan Holloway, and I do think that he could stay on this team if they gave him the meaningful patience and trust that he needs. But I just don't think that the staff is ready to do that. So send him down.
I believe in him too, but I just think later.
Yeah. Bakersfield's hot right now. I think they won 5 in a row. So it's going down to a very positive environment.
Playing with guys that could contribute with down the line.
Yeah. Playing with guys who are thriving too. Like Hamlin's doing great. I believe Bogo's around the point per game player. Like Broberg's doing really well. Kesselring's having a really good season. Olivier Rodrigue, I guess last season I wrote an article this guy needs some sustainability. And
do you think, Liam, that taking a picture with Tyler and I in Los Angeles is what turned Rodrigue's kind of career path around?
Yes.
That's what I thought too. Tyler, would you agree?
Yeah, I just don't see any sort of sound argument against it.
Right.
Against the fact that you fixed Rodrigue's career. Yes.
Another thing from practice today, Stuart Skinner in the starters net, looking like he's going to get the start tomorrow against LA. My question for you guys, light week of games this week. We've got LA on Wednesday. We've got Vegas on Saturday. When is your next start for Jack Campbell? And I also want to run through a couple of points. Mike McKenna over at Daily Faceoff, former NHL goalie, kind of walk through what he's seeing in Campbell's game. So first question is, when's Campbell get back in net? Liam, I'm looking at you.
Who do they play next week?
Jersey, and the Islanders, and the Rangers.
Yep. So they got New Jersey on Monday,
State.
New York Islanders on Wednesday, and then the Rangers on Saturday morning.
Maybe the Islanders. I just think it's interesting too in Stuart Skinner's case, because what if he plays well both games?
Mm-hmm.
Do you just sit him because Campbell hasn't played for that long? Or do you just treat it as like reward him like you're rewarding Foegele right now? I think that's how it should be. It should be determined off how well Skinner plays. And if Skinner's shit tomorrow, then play Campbell against Vegas.
Tyler, what are you doing?
I think Skinner, no matter what, for both the home games, even if he gives up 7 goals against LA, like, hey, maybe we have a different conversation. But as long as he's decent against LA, I go back to him against Vegas, because I don't think that's a great spot to let Jack Campbell rebuild his confidence. Like, you know, if he plays slightly below average against the Devils on Monday on the road, it's a road game, right? Maybe the Oilers have had a good week, beating a couple divisional opponents. Not a lot of pressure there. If he doesn't play great, I think it's whatever. But can you imagine if you put him in against Vegas and how the crowd might react to him having a poor game? Probably wouldn't go that well on a Saturday night. So I think the risk of rolling him out there against a red-hot Golden Knights team is just really high. I also think that if you go Skinner for the home games, that now means you're at 3 straight games where Skinner started. The rotation could be back to Campbell Monday. So I think I'd go with him against New Jersey, no matter what.
Actually, you know what? I hadn't considered just give him a road start next. Take the crowd out of it.
Yeah.
Actually, a fair point. Dan, when are you starting Campbell next?
Well, I mean, I've been doing the alternating back and forth all season, but right now I would say that it's like 2 starts for Skinner, 1 start for Campbell, 2 starts for Skinner, 1 start for Campbell, until Skinner starts to show any kind of wavering. Like Tyler said, if he gets shelled in one of those games, then you alternate. But I just think that I'm with you guys now. I've listened to a little bit more content around Jack Campbell and like his early career and players that he's played with and stuff. And I am starting to wonder if there is some mental stuff there that he just needs some support with, and get his head out of the game, because like we talked about with the Carolina game, that third period was an absolute train wreck for the guy. And if that guy puts a lot of pressure on himself for goals against, well, we left him in for 7 of them. So anyways, it's I think that, yeah, you got to go to Stuart Skinner, and then back to Jack in, where did you say, Tyler? New Jersey?
Yeah, Jersey.
So over at Daily Faceoff, former NHL goalie Mike McKenna kind of looked at Jack Campbell's game. And I was going to want to ask you a couple of points that McKenna pointed out, because obviously I'm not an NHL goalie. I hadn't really considered it before. The first point that he makes is his alignment. The quote is, goaltending is all about geometry. A netminder's shoulders and feet should, in most instances when the play is above the goal line, form an isosceles triangle with the puck. But right now, Campbell is struggling in that aspect of his game. His alignment is often preventing him from rotating efficiently and getting square to the shot. One other example of this is that Campbell's right leg tends to kick out a little bit, making moving to his blocker side more difficult, in which he has to overcompensate. McKenna going real deep into the mechanics there. Tyler, thoughts? Geometry?
Yeah, that might as well be a different language for me, so I'm just not even going to go there.
But like,
I was trying to think of what an isosceles triangle is.
That's what the 2 sides. One side is short.
Triangle.
One side is short because that's your shoulders, and then you point a triangle out to the puck.
Like this.
Yeah, that's right. So you got the 2 equal sides and 1 shorter third.
Interesting.
Yes. So there's your isosceles triangle and geometry lesson for today.
How is Mike McKenna not a goalie coach at that point when he's breaking down guys like that? It's and why isn't our goalie coach having that? I don't know. That's just, I keep coming back to the goalie coach whenever I hear great goalies break down that kind of. I shouldn't say that about Mike McKenna. He wasn't necessarily a great goalie, but he was a good goalie out there, a good hardworking goaltender. And I don't know, like he's not. I just put him in with like the Roberto Luongos of the world by calling him great, But anyways, when you can see that stuff as a person watching the game, it's pretty incredible to hear that kind of breakdown. But it is hard for us to speak at any kind of level of confidence talking about goalies, because they are an enigma.
Next up on McKenna's list is patience. When Campbell was at his best with the Toronto Maple Leafs, I thought he was really good about staying patient on his edges. But right now we see him defaulting to his knees too early and too often. Modern goaltending isn't about if a netminder should drop to the ice, it's when. And so he shows some clips there. When you see a goaltender, this is what really stuck out to me from this part, because I've noticed this. I even made the joke about putting sandpaper on Campbell's pads. When you see a goaltender sliding around the crease trying to find the puck, it's never a good sign. And Campbell has a tendency to push past his posts and abandon the net. That's a combination with a team like Edmonton that doesn't block many shots and has struggled to tie up sticks in front of his own net. So it's interesting that even McKenna he's just going down a little early. Jack Campbell is. But Liam, what are you looking at?
Watching the videos from the article to try and get an idea of what an isosceles triangle is, and also of what Jack Campbell's habits are. Yeah, they like when you watch him, I think it's a bit obvious kind of what they are. But there was even like the one against Tampa the other day we spoke about where was it Cologne who scored it, and he was like already so far out of his net. Like you can see all these things and. It's just bad habits. Like hopefully you can just kind of shake them off and just relax a little bit.
Here's something that I want to bring up from McKenna's article, that a little spicier take from Mike over there.
Ooh.
Equipment issues. Jack Campbell has had a long preference for soft, flexible equipment. He's been resistant to modernization, and it's costing him goals against. There's a part where the pads are flexing, but most notably, and I think a lot of Oilers fans will register with this one, is the glove. I do think the manufacturer deserves plenty of blame for lacing his gloves so loosely, even though Miller has one of the hardest shots in the NHL. This is going back to that Dallas goal that went through the glove, not through the glove. There's no excuse for an equipment failure of this magnitude. But ultimately, Campbell's equipment is his responsibility. He should be checking it regularly for damage or defective parts. Over time, the wedging of a catching glove can stretch. Campbell should have noticed that before that goal even went in.
I'm with him. I think it's important to know what your equipment is. And yeah if it's not...
Like a roadcaster right here.
Yeah, exactly. What can that thing do?
You want? I could push this one.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok, and flat out deceived.
Sometimes I just got to push that.
Feels quite appropriate right now, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like in the article, we kind of like for the equipment stuff, like the pad stuff, I was a little unsure what he was talking about, but he like shows, like he zooms in on the picture, and yeah, it's pretty clear that those things aren't up to standards of what an NHL goalie should be needing. So. Sounds harsh to say, but you got to figure it out. If you're a guy who likes to hit one-timers on the power play, but you stick breaks every time you go to hit it, then you're probably not going to have much success, and you're probably going to want to figure out a different kind of stick. So if you can't catch the puck, you're probably going to want to figure out a glove that can catch the puck, right?
Dan or Tyler, any thoughts on the equipment point that McKenna makes?
Wow, it would be crazy to me for a goalie to expect anybody else to be looking at his equipment, let alone him not looking at his equipment. So yeah, that's a fair point. I don't think there's anything wrong with another goalie saying that, especially.
Tyler, lounging.
I have nothing to add.
Tyler hates goalies.
Excellent conversation. Lastly, the point that McKenna makes is confidence. I mean, that one's pretty obvious. We all know what that means. You feel good, right, Liam?
I'm feeling good.
Are you? You're relaxing. You're lounging.
You should.
I've got this mic on a tilt, so I can lean back even further.
Tomorrow night against the Los Angeles Kings, the Oilers will debut with their reverse retros. Just real quick, since Waz posted it on Instagram, if you got your choice of the next reverse retro, just which jersey from Oilers history are you picking? Dan?
It has to be the WHA Oilers flipped, where instead of the Oiler logo being blue, it's orange.
Tyler?
I'd say I want to see a copper and blue 06 Cup run era of some sort.
Me too. That's my pick. 100%. Liam?
Oh yeah, I kind of like that one too. Yeah, I'll go with that one as well.
The only one I don't want to see is the weird pajama one with the piping. Like that one can just.
Oh yeah,
that was just terrible.
Yeah,
I want to give a shout out to our friends at Twig and Berries. If you go to twigandberries.ca, use the promo code Nation15, you'll get a little discount on your order. ODR season's coming. Go check out the ODR line, or maybe you just need some nutsack undies. Very comfortable, very supportive. They've also got some socks there. Everything you need. Upgrade your wardrobe. Go to twigandberries.ca, use the promo code NATION15. A couple of quick milestones that we could be looking out for this week. Tyson Barrie is 2 games away from playing his 700th NHL game, so provided he's able to stay healthy, that'll come on Saturday against Vegas. Kailer Yamamoto, did Gregor give an update on Oilersnation every day? What's going on with him, Tyler?
He could be back by the road trip.
So Kailer Yamamoto, 1 game away from his 200th NHL game, could come Monday?
Yes.
Maybe? See? Right? Who knows? Next thing I want to dive into is yesterday on the DFO Rundown, Tyler, first thing in the morning, you sent us a clip from former Edmonton Oilers goalie Devan Dubnyk talking about one of his teammates. And I just kind of want to, since it's ripping our website apart right now in both the traffic and the comment section, I just wanted to get your take because you were actually listening to it. Devan Dubnyk calling Nail Yakupov an idiot.
Okay. So I think the context is important here. I don't think Devan Dubnyk was calling Nail Yakupov like a stupid person or anything along those lines. The question he was asked from Gregor was there ever a teammate who was notoriously bad for shooting up at your ears during practice? And Dubnyk described the one scenario where they would do a drill where they were shooting, like you'd come off the low out of the corner and shoot, and Yakupov kept trying to pick the corner up by Dubnyk's ears, and Dubnyk got mad at him. And then the part that maybe got a little bit personal was when it was like, oh, well, did he ever figure it out? And Dubnyk was like, no, clearly he didn't. Where is he now? Like along those lines, I'm paraphrasing a bit. So I don't think he was like being mean or malicious with the idiot thing. He was talking about like in the moment, shooting up at a guy's ears when he's your teammate over and over again in practice is idiotic. So it was nice to have a great, honest answer come out of the interview. That was great. Yep. Dubnyk just told it like it was for kind of that entire interview, and I found it a little refreshing. So I don't know. Some people were like, I saw getting mad about it, being like, oh, that's disrespectful. You shouldn't be shitting on former teammates. But like, it's not like Dubnyk came out and was like, I hate him. I never want to see him again. He was just like, hey, he always shot up by my ears. He just answered the question honestly, and I liked it.
Gregor asked, is there a former teammate that was notorious for shooting up high in practice? Dubnyk's answer was, oh, Nail Yakupov. This guy was an idiot, a complete idiot. I tried to explain to him we were doing a low drive from the corner and he's zipping these things past my ear because he's trying to hit the elbow. And I tried to explain to him, you realize there are 3 outcomes here. You miss the net, you score, or you hit me in the ear. I hate all 3 of those. If you want to practice this shot, go do it at the other end. Gregor says, did he ever get it? Obviously not. He's nowhere to be found, so I don't think he hit the elbow too often. Liam, you got a little smirk on your face there. What do you think?
Feels a little personal.
Yeah, I just thought it was so good. I love it. It was one of those ones where for me, it's just like he gave a genuine answer.
Yeah.
And we don't ever get that in hockey. And it was spicy and I loved it.
I liked how quickly he was to answer. Like he knew what the answer was when he was about to give it out. I kind of agree with Tyler. I don't think he was personally taking shots at Yakupov. I think just in that incident, it was like, yeah, he was an idiot when he used to do this shit to me. But there was also like a lot of other good things that came from that Dubnyk thing. Like he spoke about how, forget if it might be wrong, Tyler, but he spoke about basically he was pretty much done, right? At one point, and he signed with Minnesota.
Yeah, like he talked a lot about the redemption arc of his career and how, like, you know, after his stint in Montreal, he was kind of like, oh man, like, I don't even want to be doing this that much. But he talked about his attitude through it all, talked about the end of his time as an Oiler. It was just a really, really good interview.
Well, if you look at it just really quickly, if you don't remember Devan Dubnyk, like the end of Devan Dubnyk in Edmonton, 2013-14, in that offseason, Craig McTavish, who was asked if Devan Dubnyk would be the starter for this team, he said that a quote that everybody knew, if you have to ask the question, you know, tend to know the answer. That season, Dubnyk finished up 32 games with the Oilers with an 8.94. He then went to the Nashville Predators, where he only got 2 starts, finished with an 8.50, and then was traded to Montreal, but he did not play for the Montreal Canadiens. He played 8 games in the AHL for the Hamilton Bulldogs, their affiliate. The next season, rebounded a little bit. In Arizona, he got 19 starts and a 9.16. He then moved on to the Minnesota Wild. Kind of really took off from there, at least until 2019, 2020.
Did we trade him for Matt Hendricks?
Mm-hmm.
You bet it. You betcha. January 15th, 2014, traded from the Edmonton Oilers to the Nashville Predators for Matt Hendricks. He was then traded from the Nashville Predators to the Montreal Canadiens for future considerations. Those are still not listed. Still waiting for those. Nashville. I don't know how far in the future those considerations are coming down the pipe, but then he signed in Arizona as a free agent. Traded from the Arizona Coyotes to the Minnesota Wild for a third-round pick, which turned into Brendan Warren. There you go.
Matt Hendricks. He was the reason the Oilers didn't make the playoffs the year in 20, whatever that was.
He also got hit in the ball a little bad.
Because we didn't have him.
Liam, are you thinking of Tobias Reeder?
Yeah. If he had only scored 10 to 12 more goals.
No. So Matt Hendricks, did he get traded to Winnipeg or did he drive to Winnipeg?
He got traded to Winnipeg.
Yeah, he signed
No, he signed
and drove.
Yeah. So I think the Oilers kind of missed him a little bit. And then they missed the playoffs. It's a bit of an out there take, but I think he played a big role in when he was in Edmonton. I'm being serious right now. I think he played a big role in Edmonton.
I'm just showing Liam now a picture of Matt Hendricks after he got smoked in the balls.
You can see me twice on the screen.
Oh,
that looks
Liamception.
Took his glove off.
Listen, if you get cranked in the balls at the NHL level, come on. And if you remember, I asked, who did I ask, Tyler? I asked somebody about NHL players not wearing cans on the Real Life podcast.
Strutty.
No, it wasn't Strutty. Luke Gazdick. I asked Luke Gazdick if it was true that there are some players that do not wear cans in the NHL, and he said yes, at least one on every team.
That feels stupid.
Yeah.
How do I two?
Yeah.
I
played high school football without a cup for the first 3 games. I was on D line. It was stupid.
When I played cricket, you had to wear a cup. And there was one guy, when you were batting, you had to wear one because guys are bowling at you. And there was one guy who didn't.
You just shared the cup though?
No, he didn't share a cup.
Well, he only had to wear it when he was batting, so I assumed it was like a helmet in baseball, but you just put on the cup.
This one guy wasn't wearing one, and the ball bounced funny and bounced right under his legs and
caught him in the twig and berries.
Yeah.
Former Edmonton Oiler Dennis Grebishkov had his nut ruptured from a slap shot.
Oh,
so.
Okay.
There's a little discourse on Oilersnation Radio for that. Tyler, you look thrilled.
That's got to be a clip for socials. Oh, he got his nut ruptured.
Tyler is no longer participating in the podcast.
He's just excited for word association.
Yeah, we were shitting on word association before this got started, so maybe that's why Tyler's a little grumpy right now. So we will get to that right now to wrap up the podcast with a little bit of word association from Tyler for our friends at Canada Snowboard on December 10th. The FIS Snowboard Big Air World Cup is coming right here to Edmonton. Tickets available at Ticketmaster. Commonwealth Stadium. You can be there. Watch some of the best snowboarders on earth flying high with all kinds of style. Experience a world-class mashup of snowboarding and style right here in Edmonton. A heightened fan experience grants you front row seats to watch the best snowboarders on earth go head-to-head in the largest stadium big air contest Canada's ever seen. Get your tickets at Ticketmaster.ca. I want to give a shout out to Toyota and Explore Edmonton for making that happen. Tyler Yaremchuk, how many words do you got for us, and what is your order?
I have 3 word associations for you guys. The order today.
That's not very many.
It's not that many. I know. People have been ragging on the segment, but we love it. The order is going to go Liam, Bagged Milk, Dan, and then me.
Okay. I can do this.
Liam, Bagged Milk, Dan. Liam, Bagged Milk, Dan. Okay. The state of Jack Campbell's game.
Stinky.
Painful.
Shaky.
I'll say shattered.
Oof.
Ooh, devastating. That one hurts.
Wow.
That one
Stuart
cuts.
Skinner's
aggressive.
mustache.
Cool.
Ride.
Epic.
Luscious.
I also see Tyler's luscious mustache is growing in. It looks really nice on the Zoom call today, pal.
There's actually something about the lighting and the way the cameras work that make it look better. So if you're one of those people who's only seen it on video and you're like, that's embarrassing, try seeing it in person. All right. The reverse retros that the Oilers will wear tomorrow night. Liam?
Bad.
Meh.
Delightful.
Orangey.
I guess I shouldn't say bad when Dan owns it. And
I owned it before the Oilers made it. Yeah, thanks for shitting on my creation.
Yeah,
that was nice of
The
you.
other thing that's interesting about that one to me is just like, why didn't they do the OG one?
Yeah.
I will say,
Opportunity.
I do like, Tom Gazzola tweeted this out, they're going to have like the cool 3D logo on the side with like that nice patch. I always liked that patch.
I feel like when I
the Oilers
see
badge looking one.
Yeah. It's going to be on the helmets.
feel like when I actually see them on the ice, I'll like them a little bit more.
I think it's going to make the orange really pop.
What pants are they wearing?
Well, yeah, like I want to see the
No
full
pants.
kit.
Zero
No
pants, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's-
Shin pads and cups only.
yeah.
Twig and
Just,
Berry's a sponsored game.
It's just dick out on a Wednesday night. I'm curious to see what the whole kind of kit looks like as well. Like, what does the pants look like? What are the colors of the socks like? Are those going to have the orange kind of trim? I don't know.
Tom
I bet you
tweeted
they
them.
didn't order new pants. Did they? They ordered new pants?
Well, it's just pant covers. And they're all navy with the oil drop patch on them.
Is that how that
it's
works,
not
Tyler?
in there.
I didn't know that.
It's just a cover you slide over.
Oh, sorry, Bag Milk. You can ask him now what a snack is.
Yeah, I want to know what Tyler's eating. What are you enjoying over there, buddy?
I didn't have time for lunch, and the only thing I have next to me is this Costco-sized bag of Jelly Bellies.
There you go.
What flavors in those? Oh,
Yeah.
that's like a lot.
Oh, there's a lot. There's got a mixed bag there.
Remember when he was judging us earlier in this episode?
Can I give you guys a hot food take?
Yes.
Sure.
God.
You like
The
your Jelly
top
Bellies hot?
two flavors of Jelly Bellies, without a doubt, are buttered popcorn and toasted marshmallow.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
What?
Buttered popcorn?
So good.
I can buy toasted marshmallow, but buttered popcorn, there's no way.
It's so good.
Those are so plain, Tyler. Like, do you like
And you know what that
vanilla
reminds
everything
me
else?
of? I think we're due on this podcast when everybody's in the same room to do another little round of Coombs trivia with the weird Jelly Belly we used to do way back on Warren Radio.
What is that?
So we would just do
Bamboozled.
like someone put together some trivia, and we would have a little bowl of mixed Jelly Bellies in the middle, and some of them were okay, and then other ones tasted awful.
Oh,
So if you got it wrong, you had to play a little roulette.
You like to taste of earwax, Liam? Because you're going to taste it.
Which is delicious.
depends on the day of the week.
Yep. This is just my personal preference stuff, you know?
Everybody likes their own brand.
Mm-hmm. Before we wrap up the podcast, a couple of things I want to get to on November 26th. That is a 11 a.m. start. We are having the brunch for Ben at Soho on Jasper Ave here in Edmonton. Tickets are about half sold from what I've seen so far, so they are moving. Dan, we've got a bunch of stuff going on, including Tyler's going to be doing Oilers Nation every day live on location. We're going to have a coloring contest for kids. We have got all kinds of prizes to give away, and we are also raising some money for the Stelter family, who will then be donating that to a charity of their choice. Anything else I'm missing, Dan?
You got it correct. It just came over the wire. We got our prize confirmed for the kids coloring contest. That comes from our friends at Sports Closet. That's a $150 gift card for one lucky child that draws a coloring contest page that Kennedy is making, is going to win $150 to our friends at Sport Closet, who also bring you Tyler's
Studio.
Yeah.
I'll also ask for my friend Liam, because I know you're wondering, what is the max age for the children's coloring contest?
12
or
Sorry,
26.
Sorry, Liam. Divide 12, multiply. It doesn't work. Sorry.
What will the coloring? What will they be coloring? Do we have that yet?
I do actually. It's a secret. We're keeping it a secret for now. It's something special and unique to Ben Stelter.
Can we see it in the Oilers Nation Radio group text after?
I can get it from Kennedy, and then yeah, I can.
Excellent.
Awesome.
The other thing I want to mention is we just launched the Next Nation Vacation to Toronto. This one is coming up in March. We have got a hell of a weekend planned, including a hockey night in Canada, game between the Oilers and the Leafs. And you will be sitting and watching that in a suite
That's sweet.
at the Scotiabank Arena. Thank you, Leo. Thank you. So tickets are on sale now. We've already moved a couple. People are coming. Gotta be excited. That is happening in March. If you're looking for a mid-March getaway, I could think of no better time for you to come to Toronto with Tyler, Dan, and I.
It's a bougie one too, and that's what I kind of like about this. We're staying at the Fairmont Royal York, right? That's what it's called?
Correct.
Yeah, the Royal York. You know, we're sitting in a suite with unlimited food. The logo for this trip is gold. Very cool stuff.
It's bougie.
NationGear.ca. You can get tickets to the brunch for Ben, or if you want to come to Toronto with us in March, tickets are available there as well.
Or they can do both, Bag Milk.
I suggest you do.
You
may even see me circumventing the coloring contest age limit. You may. Me and Liam will be scribbling in a corner when nobody's watching. That's what we'll be. Any final thoughts on the Tuesday episode of Oilers Nation Radio? Dan, Tyler, or Liam?
Go Oilers, go.
I just have to say with this reverse retro release, I think it's so silly that fans couldn't order it until the day that they're playing the game with it on, so that some of the fans. So if you can't get to Rick's store, I mean the Oilers store downtown or whatever, you also don't want to be able to pick up a blank reverse retro or a McDavid or a Draisaitl, because those are the only options that are available right now out at stores that we've seen. You have to order it online, and that can take 4 to 6 weeks. So you may only be able to wear that for one game that they get to wear the jersey for, or two, depending on what your January looks like. I think that's silly.
Disrespectful of Gaetan Haas also.
Yeah. Think of what he's thinking right now, going through. I am so tired of the Oilers doing shitty stuff to the fans like this.
Go on.
Well, it's an NHL thing, by the way, just so you know. It is the whole NHL is the same.
My point. But still,
I want to hear the rest of the rest.
I was just going to say, plus the prices of food and everything like that. Like,
keep going, Liam. Keep going. List them all. Let's go. Bob Nicholson. Let's go. Drop it all.
Brutal forever. And now we're actually good. And now it costs so much to go and watch them. Like, just drives me bonkers. Come on.
I also love seeing Sonny Milano do well in Washington. We had an opportunity to get that guy in this city, but anyways.
Shout out to the Flames for letting him go for nothing.
Yeah, hey, that's all right.
I want to give a shout out to our friends at DoorDash, Oodle Noodle, Twigga Berries, and Canada Snowboard for making this all possible. But most importantly, you for listening to this podcast. Tyler, don't even think about pushing that button because I'm going to push it right now.
Thanks for listening to Oilers Nation Radio, delivered by DoorDash. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram.